Somewhere around 1990 or so, I started driving a vehicle, and I specifically remember having a conversation with a buddy of mine before I left the house. And he's like, "All right, dude, I'll see you in a little bit. Hey, call me when you get to town so I can make sure I'm at home when you show up." It's like, "All right, cool." So I go to town, and I had to zoom around to find a payphone. And I found one, and I made the call, and I hung up. "Yeah, I'll be home," and everything. Okay, great. And then as I'm driving, I had the thought of, like, wouldn't it be cool if they had phones in your car and you could just whip off into any old parking lot, call and do, instead of messing around looking for a payphone. They were around, you just had to find them, right? And I had this thought of pulling into a parking lot to make the call, because you wouldn't ever call somebody while you're driving the vehicle. That would be stupid. Well, by 1990, they had the technology to have cell phones, and the super rich, and maybe some actors or athletes or something had them. They were a big old block device, just cancer just pouring into your ears. They were incredibly expensive, but you could actually call as you were maneuvering around. I also remember, not too terribly long after that, my brother calling me. Terrible reception. I'm like, "Where are you at? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm calling you from my truck." And he had a bag phone. Remember those, if you're old enough? Where everything was in this zip-up bag. He might still have the thing. He used it for a long time afterwards. I was like, it was really expensive. And the reception, there wasn't towers everywhere and all that jazz. Well, then, we morphed on. We got the pager. Pager may have been first, I don't know. And that was a little device you just hooked to your belt, and it became a fad, because all of a sudden you just have to be contacted day or night, regardless of your location. And all that was someone, could call the pager number. It set off an alarm, and you looked at it, and it had a digital readout of the number that was calling you, so you know to find a landline and call that person back. It was, for emergencies in theory. Pretty soon, everybody's wearing a pager. I never did, other than I borrowed one from my employer one time when my then wife was pregnant with our first kid. I had to be able to be gotten hold of, and she did use it. It doesn't matter. Anywho, so then we morphed on to little flip phones, and the ABC for 2 and the DEF for 3, and you could send text messages on these. And it took a minute. You had to sit there and do just to make one line. And then as phones and technology improved, then we could text. And hasn't that been a boon to society? The trouble with that is we're using text incorrectly. All of a sudden you could type out however much you wanted, and it would come in one-page chunks. And you got charged back then for those chunks. Most of you may remember, I don't know. It was kind of expensive when it first started, and if you got out of your little roaming area, the roaming charges may apply, and they would soak you. It took a minute to come to the point where we are now. But this business of writing out novellas on a freaking phone, it was never meant for that, in my estimation. And a guy who really expounds on this, he's a divorce lawyer. He does a lot of interviews here on YouTube. I believe his name is James Sexton. He's a divorce lawyer. And so he's seen all these marriages fail and what happened and who said what. And divorce lawyers, that's nasty business. You're getting into people's personal lives, personal details. And you can request through the court system, we want those text messages. Let's see who said what exactly, what happened. They solve crimes with them all the time. It's a whole thing. But he elaborated on this texting, and that's kind of what made me realize we are using text incorrectly. Everything that's done through the spoken word, if you're having a face-to-face conversation with someone, you can see the eyebrows. You can hear the inflection of the voice. If there's something you don't understand, you say, "Hey, wait, what now? What were you just saying? Can you repeat that? I either didn't hear it or I didn't understand." But when it's crammed into a text, especially when people are doing other things and they're giving it half-hearted attention, rambling on this, you don't get to see any of that. You don't get to see the eyebrows, the facial expressions, the tonality. Even over the phone, you can at least hear it. And you can get a lot from hearing, but you don't get any of that with a text. And how many people have you talked to or known that are bringing, oh, he sent me a text message, but it was like, why don't you do that on your time? I ain't coming over till later. You assign the voice that this other person put into a written form. You have no idea how it was spoken. You have no idea. And maybe he's busy with other stuff, and he's got, I don't know, he's got grills on the steaks on the grill, and he's just like, I don't, maybe should have done that on the other time. I don't know. It's not really in my business. Send. And now you've assigned a voice to that, and it's almost always, well, then she said that I should have to go pick up the kids at 5. You're just imagining things and assigning those properties to the other individual. And especially when it comes to relationships, and really any interaction, almost any of them, with someone else is some type of relationship. It may not be romantic or domestic or whatever, but there's a relationship of some kind, even if it's a stranger wanting to pick up some stuff that you're selling on Facebook. There's some kind of relationship there. No, dude, I said turn left. Well, then he sends me a text that said, no, I said turn left. You have no idea how that was spoken. And then the business of doing it while you're operating a vehicle just blows my tiny mind. Who would do? Imagine if you had a typewriter in your vehicle. Ding! I don't know if you remember typewriters, but that was the way to communicate for at least a couple centuries. That's probably, I don't know. Would you do that while you're driving? What's the difference with the dang phone? Oh, but now we have, what is it called? Talk to text or some crap? I don't know. I don't ever use that stuff. Mispronunciations and stuff that doesn't make any sense. And you're just like, what? In my estimation, text messages would be great if they were used for the purposes of brevity, short interactions. Leaving the house now. Be there in 15 minutes. Don't forget the milk. Hey, I'm getting Sally from soccer practice today. Concise, brief. This business of spelling out all. And Susie said that Sharon said that they saw Tim and you down at the park, and I was telling you. It's just a mess. And it seems to me like the more immature the people, aka a lot of women, but a lot of guys too, they don't want to have the conversation. So they type it out. Gives you time to think it over, which you should think about the things that are coming out of your mouth. But for crying in the mud, pick up the phone. In this era of instant communication, and look at this technology and how much better we're going to be able to communicate. And communication has never been worse, I don't believe. I don't subscribe to the theory that there were cavemen and whatnot, unless there was some kind of, asteroid disaster that knocked people way back. Maybe, I don't know. But if there was, communication hasn't been this bad since that time, where it was a bunch of grunts and food. All this technology. There's people in the same room texting each other. Back bedroom, and hey, what do you want for dinner? What is happening? And communication has never been worse. These phones and what we've done with them have destroyed more things, and just through miscommunication, misunderstanding. Yeah, somebody sent you something and you opened up, so now it shows that you read it if you're on the same plan carrier. Oh yeah, I forgot about it. I need to look that up, and I'll send him a text back. And you don't respond. Well, people have a problem with you didn't even respond to it. Maybe you forgot about it. You got busy doing something else. I don't know, but you're probably not going to forget so easily with a phone call. Pick up the phone. No. We're going to spell it out, Brevity and brevity of conversation also. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Just enjoying this beautiful day. Sweet. That's it. back and forth and back. If you're going to go on and on and on, pick up the phone. That's my take on it, at least. I don't believe it ever should have been used as this war and peace dialogue on and on and on. There's too much lost. There's too many misunderstandings. Same thing with email, in a sense. You're reading out, yeah, it's a record, but you're reading it out, you don't know how it's spoken. And so much is lost without at least hearing the tonality. That's my 2 cents worth. If you disagree, you can put it in the comments, or if you got any other thoughts, you can put it in the comments. I always read them because I find them interesting. I like it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and I will see you next time.